Every resource on the planet should be common heritage to all human beings. There's no way to create a stable society otherwise. So when you're born on this planet, you inherit the planet. The planet is your home, not some plot of land that is has the illusion of property, not some house that you think you own. There's no such thing as ownership. The idea of ownership is controlled restriction. Ownership is simply there really for those at the top to make sure no one can interfere with the fact that they control mostly everything. So we have to monitor the planet's resources. We have to begin to construct a system of production and distribution that is not based on the whims of profit. It's based on what is the most efficient means to do that. There are resources all over the planet, obviously. We have to begin to understand what we have, and we have to use science and technology to begin to orient our use of these resources in the most efficient way possible. And that's why we advocate the systems approach that we do. If you motivated our resources right now to change the face of the earth, to create a resource-based economy, we could do it very, very quickly. The problem is, again, the established orthodoxies and self-preserving mechanisms that are in place, which will be our death. The free market is what will kill everything on this planet. It's not the free market, it's actually the monetary system. Monetary acquisition and exchange through labor for income and the motivation of profit will be what destroys humanity. Because all it does is pull everything in the direction of those that have the most power. Right now, we are faced with an ecological collapse, an energy collapse specifically. We're faced with an economic collapse, which is very much tied into the energy collapse. We're faced with a labor collapse, which of course is very much tied to the economic collapse. And we're faced with what I call the criminal meltdown. The breakdown of society is occurring. People say, well, we're going to have a recovery of the economy. The most dangerous thing that we can have right now is a recovery of the U.S. economy. The most dangerous thing that we can have right now is the use of more resources, because all it's going to do is speed up the inevitable destruction. If more people go out and buy lots of automobiles to help the economy, all that's going to do is get more fuel into the tanks taken from the resources of the planet. More gasoline is used, more energy is going to be wasted on the idea of consumption. And this is what, again, will kill us. So a resource-based economy attempts to remove all of the unsustainable practices that we have now and create a holistic system of resource management, of priority of labor. That's a big one. Think about how much time is wasted in most people's lives on jobs that do absolutely nothing. Think about how much energy is wasted by someone who works at Wall Street driving from Pennsylvania every single day from their home so they can be a trader on Wall Street, wasting energy on something that means nothing, that wastes even more electricity and energy. When you begin to think like that, when you begin to see how much energy and resources are wasted on actions that have no return whatsoever except the self-interest and consumeristic monetary values of particular individuals, but return nothing to society. Think about how beautiful society would be when we start to educate people on natural processes of the environment, on science and technology, and resource conservation. And when people engage society in a professional level, if you will, they do so on things that actually matter. That will be cataclysmic. That will be unbelievable to see people doing stuff that actually has a relevance. That will enable them to have so much more freedom, too. To put it in a gestural sense, the way I see human survival and the human self-interest mechanism, which does exist, but it's accelerated by our system, is making a psychological trick to what it means to be self-serving. Social interest needs to become self-interest. In other words, when I invent something, that is given to everyone for them to improve upon and to utilize. That invention isn't hoarded through patents and trademarks. It's given to everyone. In turn, what that means is that every time anyone else invents something or creates something or has an idea, that comes to me too. Suddenly, humanity becomes a singular organism. It becomes a working system. People ask me a lot about spirituality. They say, well, if you don't like any of the established religions, Are you spiritual in any other way, or something like that? The only type of spirituality that is actually relevant is a understanding of natural processes and the natural order of the universe, to give it a annoying vernacular. The way natural laws work, gravity, the way the world actually works, God is in the laws of nature and nothing more. I believe that a true spiritual awakening will be when people start to realize that they have to begin to work together, they have to share their resources, they have to begin to understand that they live off of this planet, that they get their light from the sun, that there are energy sources that are natural and abundant, that can be made available to all, that we share everything and we work together, because that's what the system demands. The earth demands this. The species demands this for our survival. And that will be a spiritual awakening, if you want to give it that type of term. We live in a world of tremendous possibility, positive possibility. However, all indicators point to what I consider to be self-destruction, given our current established economic and ideological structures. Once again, capitalism, socialism, communism, fascism, Judeo-Islamic Christian belief systems, they have no relationship to what actually creates survival of the species. The real sad thing is that humanity is going to have to be smacked around quite a bit before they really understand what the Zeitgeist movement, a resource-based economy, and the Venus Project, Jacques Fresco, is talking about. We are driven by biosocial pressures, meaning that it takes problems for us to wake up and want to change things. I don't want to see humanity suffer. I don't want to see the population start to shrink because of our lack of energy and food. I don't want to see these things happen. But I know, sadly, that a good portion of it is going to happen until people start to wake up and recognize a new paradigm that's on the horizon that we must drive forward to as fast as humanly possible. All you have to do is look at the current economic implosion. The U.S. government's in $12 trillion worth of debt. It becomes comical after a while. What's going to happen when the U.S. government hits $20 trillion, $30 trillion? I mean, once the U.S. government can't pay its interest on all the bonds that have been sold overseas and all of the outstanding debt that it has, then we're theoretically bankrupt. What do you think is going to happen when China can't get its money from the United States? What do you think is going to happen when the United States, because we use 25% of the world's energy, starts to run out of oil in Iraq and starts to invade other Middle Eastern countries, which we'll probably do beforehand, but starts to do that? And China, of course, who gets oil from Iran, says, you know what, I think we're going to have to stop you guys from taking Iran's oil because we need that too, and you owe us a lot of money. It's kind of pissing us off. Do you think war between these superpowers might be possible? I think World War III could be very, very possible, and this war will be for real. This will not be a contrivance war like World War I and World War II, based on geopolitical realigning and various resource grabs. This will be a war for survival of different countries, and I hope that doesn't happen. I sincerely hope all of these things I talk about are erroneous and false, but all you have to do is look at the trends.